Mindfulness, the base of it is it's really an awareness. It's an awareness that emerges from paying attention moment to moment, non-judgmentally to what's happening, moment to moment to moment. And so it's something that emerges, it's an awareness that emerges, and it's kind of a watching of what's happening. So it's being able to sort of be in an experience, but at the same time, there's a capacity to sort of have an observer watching yourself experiencing. And there's something in that process that allows for a little less reactivity. So things happen, you get angry or judgmental, and the natural way of responding, reacting back is, I'm angry, and you're sort of in it, you're just in the experience. And this potentially opens up like a little space between the reaction and the response, which are going to come back. And that little bit of breathing space, microseconds, hard to explain what, it's still a little bit of room, which arises in everyone naturally anyway. There's nothing magical about this. Gives you a chance to maybe choose how to respond, for example, instead of just reacting back. And there's nothing unique about it. It's not like it's something that you have to practice at to get it. It arises naturally. I'm sure you've had moments of it, whether you labeled it that or not. We all do. So what it is it's fostering it, though, so that it happens more often, so that it's actually something you can use at will instead of it having just arise in those wonderful moments where you're perhaps skiing and you're totally into the feeling of skiing and the time rushes by, or you look at your child and there's just a moment of not even thinking, just being and just feeling present, fully present, and everything's okay just as it is. Those moments in life that everybody has. It's about creating the conditions in myself so that they happen more often, not extra special, but make every moment kind of reconnecting with what's actually happening. So it sounds so simple in a way. I mean, really, what could be simpler than be here now? Like, be present to what's actually happening. Everyone's like, of course, it's simple. And then if you practice and just to see what that really means, not so easy. Like if I say to you, we'll sit here for a minute, we won't, but if we say sit here for a minute and just focus on the sensation of your breath, for example, most people find that before the breath is even finished, thoughts are rushing in, and we sort of can't really control that. That's happening, and that's you're not supposed to control it. It's not about not thinking. Those cartoons about Zen people sitting there it's not about not thinking. None of us can turn off thinking. It's about being aware that we don't control our thoughts or emotions or what's going to come up next. What brings people to sort of look into mindfulness or other ways of looking at it, whatever, inevitably it's their own suffering. Inevitably, what brings people to this is their dissatisfaction with the way they are, with the way they react, with their reactivity. That was brought me to it, brings many people to it. So the suffering of a person is like the opportunity for them to, it's what brings them to say, I'm tired of being reactive. I'm tired of being in my head all the time. I'm tired. I mean, I've done that 1,000 times, and I've gotten angry, and then I'm sorry that I'm all those kinds of things. So suffering is kind of a doorway into this. So to make the connection with the professional life, I mean, like people say, how can you do pediatric palliative care? Oh, you must be so special, or which is a bit also, they may mean it well, but it's like you're sort of different. Special can mean different things. Or people say, I could never do that. I love kids. They don't realize what they're saying. And I'm like, no, I don't love kids. I can do it. I mean, I have kids of my own, and I love kids. You don't have to have kids, of course, to love kids. So it's, in terms of suffering, if you're going to go to these families, you're going to talk to a mom who just had a baby, who's lying in the hospital bed after her cesarean section, like day 2, and her baby has some terrible malformation, and you're there to try and help the baby be comfortable as they may die. You are walking into a situation where there is suffering, right? I mean, I don't think you need a lot of imagination. That person is suffering, right? That mother. Lots of people are affected, right? A child is ill. 300 people are affected when a child is very ill or dies. We know that from the extended family and all the rest of it. I'm not saying 300 every time, but so you're walking into a lot of suffering. Now, how do you walk into that kind of suffering without suffering yourself? Well, you don't. You do suffer. Of course, you're not detached from what's going on. You're a person. You're a human being. You're walking in. A woman has this baby who's so sick. She's crying. So how do you enter into that in a way that's helpful to them without being immersed in the suffering yourself and just sort of crying or just shriveling up or running away which is the easiest thing to do, right? In the face of other suffering, run away. How to do that? So the only way that I have found, and I think some other people have found, to sort of be present for somebody else, to be there for them, is be able to distinguish between my own needs, my need to be needed by these people that I'm supposedly helping, and my own need to suffer, and then their needs. And one way that I have found is that mindfulness, however, it's not using it. It's it's not a belief system. It's an understanding system. Once you sort of see the world like that, you see everything kind of in that framework. And so I bring myself into the work. So with myself, or the way I see the world, just like you bring the way you see the world to your work, to this interview. So professionally, I bring that in there, and it's a way for me to hold the container, to hold the suffering that's in that room and with those people, without it being all about me, because I'm really being paid to help these people. How can I actually help them? Who am I even to think I could help them in such a situation? You could tell by the way, if you were the mom, what you were seeing back at you in terms of whether the person was really being there or not, and how that's expressed is my inner monologue. You know, our inner monologues, we all have an ongoing story of me going on all the time. Or as I'm talking, you're thinking about what you want to say next, you're thinking about how this looks. You have an internal monologue all the time. Well, everyone has, it's not a negative thing. We all have internal narratives all the time. If I'm mindlessly there, I'll go in and I'll think, oh my God, this poor baby. Oh my God, this poor mother. Poor them. What if it was me? What if it was my wife? Oh my God, what if my kid gets sick? I'm off and running on an internal narrative of me and how this could be me. Or maybe I'm getting all choked up, and I shouldn't be choked up, and how much of me is left to listen to this person, what they're really saying? How much of I'm projecting what I think that I would be like if I was them? I'm not them. I'm there to see what they need, what they say. So it's not, I shouldn't feel pity for them. Maybe they don't want pity. Maybe they want specific. I should be there to listen to them. So mindlessly, I just would be off and running with my own internal monologues, and I'd be sitting and nodding. Yes. Oh, yes. But really, I wouldn't really be taking in what they're saying. I wouldn't really be present and listening, and would be missing a lot of things. And I'd be suffering a lot because I'd be off having my own child die in my own head as I'm talking. I'm playing through the whole thing. So there'd be tons of stuff in the room. How much room is there left for me to listen to them, to be able to address what they need? Mindfully present, all that stuff still comes up. It's not like I've magically become enlightened. Absolutely not. Anybody could tell you that knows me, that works with me. So the stuff comes up, the stories begin, and I try and catch myself running off with them and going, here I am feeling sorry for them. Here I am imagining my own child. Come back to the room, come back to this chair. Can I take one breath and focus on that storyline and see if I can reground myself back? I am here to my intention. I am here to help these people. I am paid to help these people. Can I stop that storyline for just a moment, get back to it later if I want, and just be there for them? And I may have to do that 100 times in 5 minutes in my head. Oh, off and running again. Okay, no. Back to, yes. So I wouldn't be asking different questions, but I would be refocusing back to where I am. That's the difference. It's a lot of internal work as expressed as someone who's not listening to you, who's looking on their BlackBerry at the worst of it, or looking over your shoulder while you're talking and they're looking over your shoulder. They're not being present. Well, it does several things. That's one of the things that it does. One of the things is it increases your capacity to listen. It also reduces my own suffering. So, in terms of burnout and job satisfaction, what am I looking for out of this job anyway, right? So if I'm getting emotionally invested and overflowing with my own fantasies of everything every time, how long could I do the work? It wouldn't be possible.